Hi and welcome back to the channel. In this week's episode we've got a Seat Ibiza with a filthy engine bay, filthy wheels and even more disgusting filthy seats. The exterior of this car's also got some dinks and donks and scrapes, so we'll try and improve those as best we can. This is what it looks like if you haven't seen one of these before. And with that done, we can move straight in the engine bay and get on with that. So we've got an exposed alternator here, the spark plugs live underneath there in the coil packs. We've got an ECU and an ABS pump. So I'm going to bag those up with some microfibers just to sort of stop any water ingress getting in there, and then we're going to get some all-purpose cleaner on there so we can start removing and lifting that dirt. And being an older car, it hasn't got a fabric sound deadening cushion underneath the bonnet, so we're just going to go straight on there with the all-purpose cleaner. And as we can see, it's already starting to lift that dirt, which is a good sign, but we're going to agitate it with a little brush. Just helps move things around before we introduce the jet wash, and we can wash off the years of grime. And once this engine bay is thoroughly washed off, we can use some Auto Glim Super Sheen. It's like a dressing, it's very good. We can apply it while the engine bay is still a bit damp, spray it all over the plastics, and as that water evaporates, it'll just leave a nice sort of protective film over it, which almost looks factory finish. Onto the wheels, and we're going to use a dedicated wheel cleaner. This one's quite good because I can use it, it's very strong alkaline, so I can use it on the wheel and actually the tyre as well. And just using a series of brushes, we've got the obviously EZ or EZ depending on how you want to pronounce it, wheel brush that gets behind the spokes, which is very good, and does the barrel or the back of the wheel. Then we'll use a little brush to get around the spokes on the face of the wheel and around the wheel nuts and things like that before giving it a good deep blast of the jet wash. And with these wheel cleaners, you know, sometimes they might need 2 applications, it depends how bad the wheel is. And I often find if the wheel's quite bad to start with, if you leave it on there for, 3 or 4 minutes, give it a chance to work its magic, it does help. With the car given a deep wash, we can now bring the vehicle inside the workshop and crack out the vacuum cleaner. Now some people just pull the mat straight out, and I've done that myself before, but sometimes if they've got a lot of debris on the top of them, it's just a bit easier to vac off that surface layer, so as you pull it out, it doesn't sort of dump all the crud in your own workshop. It gets a bit counterproductive otherwise. So after that, around with a small detail brush, just to sort of get around the crumbs and things around the gear stick and the handbrake here, and just loosen up that before we start thinking about washing the plastics down. Once that's done, we can start looking cleaning all the plastics in the car. All-purpose cleaner at about 10:1 dilution ratio on these, should we say, more dirtier vehicles. Agitate it with the brush. They're really good for getting into door pockets as well, because you're always going to guarantee to have some sort of crud at the bottom of those, or some sweeties or something. That microfiber to get any of the dirt and residue off, and then an airline's going to help push out any of the dirt underneath that bottom of that door pocket, and also the plastic seams. And now we have this satisfying seat extraction. These seats were grim. So I've pre-treated them about 10:1 again with the all-purpose cleaner. Used a drill brush to agitate that because it's really good at sort of breaking up the filth on the top of the pile of the fabric in the seat. And then obviously we go over with the wet vac machine. Now you can do it 2 ways. You can just put some nice warm water in the machine so it's helping flushing the seat out without putting too much more chemical in. It depends how mucky the seats are. Sometimes you'll still run a little bit of all-purpose cleaner through the actual machine at the same time you're extracting it, because if you have to go over the seats 5 or 6 times like you would in these, because they're so filthy, you need a bit more extra detergent being pushed through to clean them out. The enjoyable satisfaction of all that filth going down the drain after it's been extracted from the car. Once the interior is dried, I've gone over with some Aerospace 303. I've shown that in previous episodes. And we're going to crack on with the bodywork. Now, one good thing about silver cars is that, but I'm in the motor trade and I actually drive a silver car myself, is any scratches are really well hidden on the paintwork. It's one of the most forgiving colours in the world, so on something like this it's quite easy to improve them. The downside with a silver car is when you polish it, it's not necessarily as impressive as like a dark blue car or a black car. So we're using a dual action polisher here by Rupes, it's called a Melee, with some Koshchemi H9 cutting compound and a yellow Hexlogic pad from Chemical Guys. This is going to remove any marring at the top of the paint, light scratches, and just give us a nice deep gloss again on this paintwork. Once that task's done, it's now onto the touching up of the wheels and the bodywork. I've mentioned this before, so I find B&W Titan Silver, which is code 354, will probably do most of alloy wheels, so most of the Volkswagen range, etc. Bit of a top tip though, if you've got a wheel that's got a very high fleck in it and slightly darker, so typically this is going to be on something like a Vauxhall or a Range Rover, another good colour to use will be actual Vauxhall Star Silver. Don't know the code number for that one, but that's very good on a slightly darker silver wheel which is quite glittery, or has a very heavy metallic flake in it I should say. And doing little touch-ups on this car really makes a difference because the bumper's got black primer underneath, so it really does show through. So popping a little bit of silver paint on there is just going to take your eye off it. This car's a cheaper vehicle, it's under £2,000, so we're just trying to cosmetically overall improve it. And as we can see in the after shots, it's a big difference. The vehicle now looks really quite presentable for its age. Especially this rear bumper where it had that scuff on before, it's still there. I'll zoom in a little bit and you can see a bit closer. Again, it's not perfect, but from 5 feet away or even relatively quite close, it's a marked improvement than what it was before. And likewise, by buffing up the front headlights, because they're a little bit cloudy, also touching the bumper in, and also the alloy wheels, it all just looks nice and fresh again. And as for the interior, we have banished the filth, the mould and all the crumbs and the disgustingness to leave some nice fresh looking seats. This driver's seat's got a tear in it, did have one to start with. This seems to be a wear point. The frame I think pinches very slightly underneath, and where people have got in and out it just sort of rubs the foam and deteriorates over a period of time and collapses. Because as we go onto the passenger seat, as we scroll down, you'll notice that I'm going to point to it, it's starting to wear on the other side as well, this there. So it's obviously a common issue with these. Motor Trade can get an upholstery guy in to come in and just repair those panels on there if you wanted to, just to smarten it up and give it the final touches. Hope you enjoyed this video. We've got another one coming next week. We've got a little fiesta to do, so if you haven't subscribed, please do, and tune in next week. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.